Hello everybody, today I'll be talking about how I made my new short film Dummy. Now personally I think the short film was pretty fun to make. I thought it was quite interesting. It's not as good as my last one I don't think, but you know, I still think it was a pretty good short film. Anyway, there were certain things about it that I'd like to talk about, and yeah, that's what I'm going to do today. So in all honesty, I don't actually remember where the idea really came from. There are chances that it came from real experiences, but I'm not really 100% sure. Personal fact, I also deal with a lot of intrusive thoughts and stuff that consistently tell me that people are talking about me behind my back and stuff, even though I've been reassured by my friends that they don't. But, so there's a chance the idea could have been subconsciously based off of there. But I'm not sure where the idea came from, and I'm not going to pretend like I remember, because I wrote the script back in like May last year. These things take a while to make. I filmed it in September, October, and it's only just came out now in February. Anyway, one thing I want to actually say about the filming, which I'm not sure how much I can really say without spoiling my next film, is that, so I wrote 3 different short films in around May time. So that would be Death of a Photographer, Dummy, which I just released, and my next one, which I'm not going to talk about very much. But anyway, so at the start of my next one, the beginning of it is set about a year before the rest. So I shaved off my facial hair, I had a haircut, and just made myself look a bit younger. Now, while I waited for my facial hair to grow back so I could film the rest of the third one, that's when I filmed the second one. So that's why my facial hair is short there, a bit shorter than in Death of a Photographer, but then for the rest of the next one it's longer than it is now. It's proper scruffy then. I don't know if I really released many videos around that time, but back in November, December when I was filming that one, my facial hair got longer. Anyway, so that's just a fun little thing I wanted to say about my planning for the uploading. A lot of the filming for this was obviously self-explanatory. I set up a camera and I read the lines. But there were a lot of things that I was experimenting with. For example, I was experimenting with this website called runway.ml, which does green screen related stuff. I did use it for Death of a Photographer for 1 or 2 things, but I didn't really use it much, so I wanted to really utilise my ability to use it for this one. That's why I used it for all of these shots here. And that was a nightmare, and I won't be doing it again. Especially this shot here where I run away from the explosion, that took forever. And this shot here, which is only used at the very end, also took a long time. However, with this shot here, that was surprisingly hard to get right. In the other versions, it just looked out of place. Now, even though the camera was on the same settings when I filmed the punch, something about the lighting and the placement just seemed off to me, so I really did have to work around that. I even added another slightly more transparent layer, 2 of them actually, over it to make a blur effect. Alternatively, I could have just downloaded After Effects and done it, but I don't really know how to use After Effects, so I'm not going to pretend that I do and waste my time. But that would have been a better way to do it, as I realised halfway through doing it. But you know what, the shot lasts about 1 second, so it didn't really bother me too much. The main shot that took a long time and did bother me to make was the shot where I ran away from the explosion. So for that one, I filmed the background, then I filmed myself running, and then I layered them. I had the explosion as one layer, I had me as another layer, and I had the other me on my back as another layer from that. Now another thing about this shot, which a lot of you definitely don't know, none of you are going to know this, I haven't said it before yet, is that when he picked him up, in the shot that I used for the guy's body, his shoe was cut off, so his foot was gone. My way of fixing that was I got the shoe from a different take and I planted it on there. Now I'm going to be honest, my editing files were being really slow and really laggy because there were about 5 layers simultaneously playing. It was a nightmare. I even had to compress them into separate files. I had to make more editing files just so it wouldn't lag as much and so that I could get it done quickly. But yeah, obviously this shot I spent a lot of time on. I made sure I had an explosion that looked somewhat realistic. I made sure I cut myself out properly, and I even made sure the lighting matched kind of what the lighting would do. And you know what? It was okay. For an independent thing that one person did, I think it went okay. If it was a group of people working on it, it could have been better, but for one person, I think it's okay. If I had more time, I would have maybe made sure the outline was better added a shadow of some sort, and just genuinely made the explosion look a bit more real. And I'm sorry about the lighting here. It is, my laptop's webcam doesn't handle lighting very well, and the sun's being a bitch today. Anyway, apart from that, there wasn't that many real big visual effects I used. Obviously these ones here were technically a hard to make visual effect, but they were pretty easy, to be fair. Obviously things like the lighting was changed in every shot, but that was pretty much it really. There wasn't that much to be said about it. However, one fun fact is that this clip here, the audio is actually taken from another take, and I literally forgot about that entirely until I was putting the final edit together and I remembered, oh yeah, that's a different take. I synced it up using a different take. Also, this scene here, the lighting was so hard to fix. Now the lighting obviously doesn't look great. I was standing in front of a window. I should have probably put a light in front of me, but I don't have a good enough light, and even if I did, I wouldn't have been bothered to use it unless there was a crew with me helping. But, you know, it was hard to make the lighting look good. You might just be thinking, oh, just fix the lighting a little bit. But no, let me show you. This is what the original shot looked like. This is the raw footage, and I made it look like this, okay? That shows how much effort I had to put in to make it look okay. It still doesn't look great, but it's watchable, at least. And my editing software buffers a lot with lighting stuff for some reason, and rendering footage. So that was hard to make look good, but, you know, I did it. This shot here was filmed at my actual college. That's an interesting fact to keep in mind. Obviously everything in this film was done by myself and nobody else. So this shot here was literally my hand touching my other hand, and I had to make it look like another person. You might have just thought I got my brother, but no, I filmed this when he was at school. I had to somehow make that work, and I remember it was so much effort to make that work. But I think it works fine. Obviously being outside on what seemed to be a really windy day was really insignificant anyway. But, you know, it worked. Anyway, apart from that, that's pretty much all I can really say about this film. I thought it was quite fun to make, even though there were parts of it that really did drain me. Yeah, I thought it turned out pretty funny as well. And, you know, can't wait for the next one to be out. Hope you're doing well. Goodbye.